Yo, what's going on, guys? Reversal here, and today I'll be doing a Kashtira deck profile for Post-Phantom Nightmare. This is a deck I've mainly been playing as of late when I want to break from dinos and to play at a competitive deck. This deck's been doing a lot better than I thought it would pre-Phantom Nightmare, since the format's a lot lower powered before we get Populous and Promethean Princess. The deck like this just thrives in that, since you get into simplified game states a lot more, and then the cash cards just kind of win from that point. It's going to be a little harder post Phantom Nightmare in my opinion, just because the Snake Eye engines are so crazy. It's really just better than everything else the game has, so every other deck's going to have to try to contend with that. So the main reason to play a deck like this is because it plays Shifter, and the Shifter is very good against those decks. So that's the reason I'm playing this deck, pretty much, in a nutshell. Yeah, before I get into it, if you haven't already, appreciate a sub to the channel, so you don't miss out on any other future deck profiles or combos, whatever. And drop a like in the video if you enjoy the content. It helps push the video out. Yeah, let's get straight into it. It's a 40 card deck. Monsters, we got 3 Fenrir, 3 Unicorn, 3 Rise Heart, 1 Scare Cash, and 1 Ogre. Fenrir is pretty good in general, obviously, as everyone knows. I think as a going second card, it gets a little worse post Phantom Nightmare, but in this deck, obviously, it's engine. So you can cut down to 2 Rise Heart potentially. Post side, I usually side one out going second, but I wanted to keep 3 in for now, just for consistency reasons. I don't want to push the boundaries too far in terms of losing any consistency cards, since I'm not really sure how far you could go without getting to the point where you're losing too much consistency. But for now, I think it's okay. And then the Ogre is nice to get the prep when you're going first, and then going second, you side that stuff out pretty often as well. So yeah, that's it for the monsters. For the spells, we got Prosperity, Planets, and Terraforming, which is the 4th planet. Maybe, since there's going to be a lot more draw, maybe we don't play Terraforming, but for now I think you just play it because Planet's too good. Then we got the probably best card in the deck, Birth. This card is just crazy. It's a disruption. It's infinite grind game. It's just really good. 2 Theosis. I was playing 3 of this before, but I decided to cut 1 because I wanted to fit something else in the deck, and then I felt like I just didn't need to be playing 3 of this without playing Desires like some people do. But I think this is fine at 2. I don't think the slight loss in consistency with taking a card like this out is going to really matter too much, but could always end up putting the 3rd back in potentially at some point, but for now I think 2 is fine. And then the prep. This card's just nice as like another version of Birth, pretty much. Can summon a monster from your hand or you banish, so between these 2, you can just kind of get back into games a lot easier. You make your opponent deal with a lot of stuff to kind of stop what you're doing. Even though you don't end on a ton of disruptions, it's just kind of like a board that's a lot of different points that you have to clear, or it just kind of builds it again next turn. Because like the main combo that I tend to do with this deck, to kind of play around Nib, since that's like a lose condition, a lot of the time I'll just go for like a Fenrir plus Unicorn, then the Rise Heart and the Ogre, and then the Unicorn will set up this, and then the Ogre will set up this. So you just pass on this. It's 4 summons, so they can't nib you. And then you have Fenrir is like the only real like disruption to go along with the Birth that can come up as well. But the Unicorn Rip can be nice, especially a lot of people only play 1-0s. They don't really respect this card. The Rise Heart hitting their top 3 face down can hit impactful 1-0s sometimes. Ogre can look at the top 5, and then you can banish 1 face down and rearrange their top 4. So between these 2 cards, you can often hit like 1-0s that are important to deck strategy. So, and then the Unicorn can hit stuff from their extra deck. So, and these cards are just big bodies, and then these 2 backing them up can help just kind of apply pressure. on every turn, so it doesn't look like a lot, but it ends up being enough quite often. And then there are some higher ceiling combos that you can do, which I'll talk about in the extra deck. But for the non-engine, we got the best card in the game, Shifter. 3 draw. This conflicts with Shifter, but if you're seeing Shifter, you don't really care about seeing this because you're winning that game anyway. And then if you play both of these, you have 6 cards that can auto-win you a matchup. Droll isn't as good as Shifter when it comes to that, since it's not as consistent. It kind of depends how they start, but if like a Snake Eyes player starts with like a Bonfire or something, Droll goes crazy. If they start with normal summon Snake Eye Ash, it's not as good, but it still does a little bit. But I think good players will find lines that play well into Droll for the most part, but sometimes their hand isn't going to allow them to do that, so I think it's a card that you're better off playing than not playing right now. But that could change potentially. We got 3 Ash, just Ash. It's generic, hits everything. It's not as good as it could be versus Snake Eyes because you're giving them a fire to take with Hida. So that could potentially end up hurting you, but it's something that you can side out versus the fire decks going second for sure. We got 3 Imperms, just another generic one. Doesn't play into talents, which is nice. Then 2 Mourner. I was playing 2 Ghost Bell in this spot before, but I decided to swap them back to Mourners, even though I don't love Mourner as a card. I think it's okay, but for the most part, I think it's a much worse Imperm. And the fact that it can't hit a normal summon is annoying, especially when hitting a normal summon. Snake Eye Ash is one of the more impactful spots you can use these cards is, but I mean, it is what it is. You can hit like a Diabell Star if they start with that, which is fine. And then for the last 2 non-engine slots is something I'm trying, is main decking 2 D-Fisher. This was something I was going to side, but I didn't want to dedicate so many slots in my side deck to hard going first cards. And I was going to play a call by maybe somewhere, but I figured this card would just be, it's like the better call by pretty much. When you're going first, obviously, it's a lot better. When you're going second, call by might be a little better, but I don't really want to be playing call by when I'm going second anyway. So I figured I'd just main deck 2 of these, just because you do have enough going second cards already, like with these 15, plus you have Fenrir's, and then the other Kashtira monsters is big bodies anyway. So I think it's enough. So I'm going to try these in the main deck, see how it goes. I think this being able to beat stuff like Veiler and especially Droll is really huge. There's been so many times where Shifter has stopped a Droll from really screwing my turnover, so having more copies of Shifter basically is pretty nice. It's mainly only good when you go first, but it's not always terrible when you go second, depending on some of the decks you might face. But I think you have enough non-engine for going second to where you can get away with main decking 2 of these. But this is definitely experimental, and I'll see how it goes. But before I put these in, I was on 2 Ghost Bell instead of the Mourners, and then I was playing a 3rd Theosis and 1 Talents instead of these 2, so I decided to take out one of the Theosises, and I'm just side decking the Talents to put these in, and then I threw Mourners in just because it's I didn't want to have too many cards that conflicted with the 2 banished things, and Bell kind of obviously does that, since they're not going to have a graveyard if you use one of these, even though Bell can hit stuff like Wanted. I think it was better to just play the Mourners, but we'll see how that goes. Could potentially end up switching that stuff, but for now, I think it's something I want to try. I think it'll work out. The extra, we got SP and IP, and then we have the Heat Soul package and access code. I don't really ever make these for the most part, because like I said, I just do the board that's safe into nib a lot of the time, unless I just don't have like non-engine to back it up, and then I'll kind of go into this to draw into more stuff and then end on a wider board with more disruptions. Depends when your opponent decides to drop nib on you. You will have the Burt set up when you decide to go into the combo. So if they want to nib you before you end up going into the Heat Soul, you'll still have Burt at least. But that's not really like a ton to end on afterwards. So if you think they have nib, it's probably best to just respect it anyway. But sometimes you do just have to have to go for it. If you don't have non-engine, like you're just making the standard little board with the 4 cash guys and the 2 cash spell traps. It's not enough sometimes if you don't have any non-engine to back it up. So, but having these as an option is nice without having to play anything in the main deck. Then you can often just do the Draco Sack to get the tokens and then just set up the IP to go with it. If you don't want to go into this stuff, like if you're under shifter, you can't use this stuff. So, yeah, it's just a nice option to have without having to play anything in the main deck. Shangri, I think this card's not very good, but when you have Planet, sometimes you can just go for this and then Planet's an extra pop at that point. So I think it's good to have. You don't make it all the time, but it's a nice option. Then the Draco Sack for the combos to go into the IP and SB or the Heat Soul. Dark Arms, card is cracked, can pop not once per turn. Can banish like Theosis and start adding your resources back. Big Eyes, card's nice to take stuff. Flare Metal, Typhon, Zeus. Flare Metal can be good if you leave them on, like, if you're going second, you leave them on like not a ton of life points. I can just make this and just put them in an awkward spot. And then these 2 are just self-explanatory. Then we got the 1 Baron for, you can make this with like a Kashtira and then a normal summon level 3 tuner hand trap. So it's good to have as an option. So for the side deck, got the 2 bells that I was maining before. I put them in the side. You could potentially run 3 just because Labyrinth is a rough matchup for this deck. But for now, I just put 2 in. A lot of these ratios are probably going to end up being adjusted again, but this is just how I kind of have it going into the format. We got 2 Crow. This is like another Ghost Bell type card, but this can also hit stuff that, like if they chain block it to dodge Bell, Crow can hit some of that other stuff. So it's nice to be able to hit the 1 Garunix that Fire King plays now. You can hit Princess with it. If you're facing Branded, which a lot of people have been playing recently and think it's going to be a good choice as a non-fire deck, you get the Gimmick Puppet Lock with both of these. So and then it's not too bad against Labyrinth either. So and it's not terrible against decks like Pearly as well. So I think Crow's decent. And we got the 2 Thrust and then some targets. We got the 1 Talents, the Duster, Soul Release, and Evenly. These could be tweaked for sure. I don't know how good Soul Release is going to be as a thrust target because I feel like this card's not as good when your opponent knows you have it. Because once they see you search this, they could kind of just start using their effects to flood the field and whatnot. But we'll have to see how good it is as a thrust target. I didn't want to commit to playing more of this card right now, but it's either something where you have to play more of this, or you just don't play it at all, but for now I'm just trying the 1. We got 2 Cosmics. I think Cosmic's crazy right now. Can hit like Fire King Island going second, which is pretty good, and then you can play this card going first in a lot of matchups. Just really versatile. This is something I would definitely play at 3 if a spot opens up elsewhere. And then the last card, we got 3 Summon Limit. I think this is the best Floodgate to side, because it just kind of says no to every deck. If they don't draw like a Cosmic or something to out this, there's not really an out to it, because you could just end on like Kashtira Unicorn, like your bodies. And the main out that people have to this card is SP. And this card basically says like you're not summoning SP, so it's really hard to lose if you have the just a bare minimum plus this. If they don't have the immediate out to this, like it's really hard to lose from that position. So this is the Floodgate I decided to play. You can play something like Anti-Spell or maybe even like Judgment potentially too, but I feel like this card just does way more, so might as well play the more cards that win you the game. That's kind of the theme of this deck. You draw something like that, you draw something like Shifter, and then you just win. But yeah, it's going to be it. Because I think this deck's, as far as non-fire deck goes, I think this is one of the better options probably, mainly because you have a 33% chance to draw Shifter, and Shifter gives you a near 100% chance to win a game. So I think this deck's a good choice if you want to just, you know, win games and not have to think a ton. Like, You just kind of have to play smart with this deck. You don't have to like exhaust your brain. So if you're playing in a long tournament, I think this deck's a very good choice for that. Since it's pretty straightforward in what it does. So, alright, that's gonna be it for the deck. So drop a like, sub if you haven't already. Appreciate it. Have a good day. Peace.